traveling, so he has informed us that he may have a patchy connection. So we request everyone to bear with us during the session. So we welcome you, Pranjal Bhaiya.
Thank you, Amog. Thanks for this nice introduction and looking forward to the session.
Shajuman sir, would you like to add something over here?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Parth and Pranjal. Very nice to see you in the session. Actually, this is a very, very important session which is organizing for the IIST students as well as for the alumni. All the best for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So for the preference of the speakers, this session will be an interactive session. So the speakers will be sharing their journey as well as we can learn from their experiences. And anyone who has questions to ask can please raise their hand and they'll be allowed to use their mics for that course.
Amok?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yeah. So how do you want to start this?
Yes, I was actually waiting if there was any starting comments from the attendees, but
Okay.
Okay. So I think you can share with us your journey first, and then we'll go with Pranjal Bhaiya, and then we'll open the session for queries.
Cool. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming here. It's a Sunday morning, I understand, and I think more than 50 people are here. So thank you for taking out your time. Also in the introduction, if you have listened that when Amog was speaking, he has mentioned operations engineer, operations manager, and you would be wondering that such type of posts do not exist in ISRO because in ISRO they only called it scientist engineer, SCSD, SESF. So this is something we have to figure out that what kind of work we are doing, and while applying to applications to B schools specifically, you have to give a functional designation sort of a thing, because nobody will understand what is a SC, SD, SE. Even outside ISRO, if you tell in other government departments, they have their own sort of hierarchy which they follow. So it is not a very common language to speak. So you have to use a common sort of business jargon there to so that people can relate to what kind of work you have been doing. So yeah, giving you all a brief introduction, I joined IIST in 2009, aerospace branch, and then graduated in 2013. I did my internship in 2011. Oh, sorry, 2012 at URSC Bangalore. So when the counseling came in, the seats and everything, I was more interested in coming to Bangalore and join here. Fortunately, the ranks and everything allowed me to come to Bangalore and join URSC. At that time, it was called as ISAC, ISRO Satellite Center. Right now, URF Satellite Center. I joined in the thermal systems group there. I was placed in thermal fabrication division. Most of you, if you are alumni, you would be knowing how the hierarchy works. If you are students, just giving a brief introduction. In most of the centers, it may not be exactly same everywhere, but director, then yellow director, there would be associate director. There would be deputy directors, which are heading an area or entity. Below these deputy directors are group directors, which are heading a particular group. Below this group director would be division heads, who are again heads of the division, and then section head, and then comes the people. So I was placed in thermal systems group, then thermal fabrication division, and thermal implementation section. My primary role there was to take care of implementation of thermal hardware onto the satellites. So it was very hands-on experience for me, quite interesting from my perspective. The technical part was not that challenging, to be very honest. It was more on the side of project management, people management, because I had a team of contract employees and technicians, junior engineers, with the help of whom I had to get this thermal hardware implemented onto the satellite itself in the clean room. While coordinating with different teams within URSC and outside URSC, also say SAC, LPSC Bangalore, sometimes ISU people, then SHAR people. So that was quite interesting for me, very fascinating. I have always loved interacting with people, working in teams, and in IIST also, Shayuman sir knows it very well. I have been like doing that kind of stuff from a long time. So that was there. To be very honest, I was very motivated to do an MBA even before I joined IIST. I was like, okay, MBA is something I would love doing. But coming from a small town, I did not have that much exposure, like what would be the right way. And whatever I was seeing, I was taking it up. So people told me that IIT so I wrote IIT I got into IIST. But MBA was something I wanted to pursue from quite a long time. So as soon as I joined Bangalore, I remember in 2013 October we joined, and December itself I joined Time to get coaching for CAT. I pursued that for 4 or 5 months along with one of my close friends who was also from IIST. But I don't know what happened around June, July, considering the bond period, considering the bond amount, the 10 lakh rupees was too much for me at that time. Still, it is too much for me to pay. But I took a call to not appear for CAT. I did not even apply it for the exam, not CAT, not XAT, that XLRI one, any of those exams. And I just continued doing work. In 2018, when I figured out, okay, now the bond period is coming to an end, I started preparing for GMAT. I wrote GMAT in 2018. Before that, I was told about this Reliance scholarship by one of our seniors from college. He told me that there's a scholarship by Reliance, which sponsors candidate for Stanford for an MBA. You can Google it. They are not offering it this year, but hopefully next year it will be there. So that was there. I thought, okay, let me try it. It was a very simple application form without any application fee. So you have to write an essay and give your CV and everything. That was the first time I started preparing my CV. I had no clue how to prepare a CV because from IIST we directly got into ISRO, so never did that exercise of writing a CV for a technical job or for a business application sort of a thing. From there, so I was selected as one of the 50 fellows in that Reliance scholarship. And then I wrote GMAT. I did not get a good score. I wrote GMAT again after 3 weeks. I think there's a 16 days period gap you can take. And then post that, I wrote again GMAT. I was very persistent that I have to apply this year itself in the very first round because a lot of wrong information I had received from a lot of people. So I just applied it in the first year to 2 colleges and I was like very particular about the brand name. So I applied only to Stanford and Harvard without taking help from anybody for reviewing my essays or CV. And as was expected, I did not even get a call for an interview. After that, I took a break and at that time, some interesting projects also came into my kitty at ISRO. I became project manager and I was leading a team of around 30 people and we launched 3 satellites. And then I sort of stopped that MBA process, but there was something in my mind. So in 2020, I again applied for the Reliance scholarship. Fortunately, I again got into it. So again started preparing for GMAT, but then this COVID thing came and it was becoming difficult. I was at home, the offices were closed and all those things, but could not concentrate and prepare well. I took coaching for GMAT. I was getting plateaued at my verbal, so again wrote GMAT. Again, did not get a very good score. So I used a score of 2018, but this time I was adamant that I have to get out of this zone and I have to get into an MBA. So in 2020 December, round 2, I applied to 8 B schools. Again, some of the brand names. So my long-term goal has always been, at least till now, to come back to India and work here. The idea of going abroad was more to get that kind of exposure, that kind of education, be in a big university, learn from people globally. That was my motivation. So I've never worried or thought about money itself because I thought, let me get a seat and then I'll figure out if there are scholarships or things like that. And then I applied to 8 B schools: Stanford, Harvard, Wharton, MIT, Yale, Kellogg, Duke, and UCLA. Anderson B School of UCLA. I applied well. I took the help of a consultant from US. She guided me very well. My CV was quite strong. I got interviews from Kellogg, MIT, Yale. I was waitlisted at Yale, but unfortunately, I could not get any seat in any of these schools. But yeah, I learned a lot. I've connected with more than 100 students and alumni from all these schools. I'm still in touch with many of them, made a good network with them, talked to a lot of faculties, admission committee member, and got a lot of feedback of where I went wrong in my application. we can cover it in subsequent questions, answers, and discussion. Anyways, that then came 2021. Last year, I was like, okay, what to do? I wanted to leave ISRO at the earliest because I was thinking that my growth path has like sort of, I'm like stuck here. I could not get out of it. And so I was thinking of taking certifications like project management certification and all these things, so that will add value, and I will try to directly take a jump to sort of business side of things into a corporate job. Then I attended one of these MBA tour, top MBA tour, and I got in to interact with admission officer of INSEAD. I showed her my CV, and she was very much interested, and she was very excited that you should definitely apply to INSEAD and all those things. And I researched about INSEAD, and I came to know that INSEAD prefers to have international experience, which I did not have. I had talked and worked with international teams in ISRO, but I have never traveled outside of India. They have a special section in their application asking if you have traveled outside of your home country, put the dates and places and all, even if you have traveled for leisure or a vacation. But I had not traveled anywhere, even for leisure or vacation. Anyway, so I tried to broaden my spectrum. I started with INSEAD. I came to know about Oxford, Cambridge. I applied to all these three schools first. The round two was, then I was like, okay, if nothing happens, nothing works out, I'll go try for ISB, because ISB has a long history of people from IIST going in. I applied to INSEAD, did not get an interview. I applied to Oxford, did not get an interview. Cambridge, I applied. To be very honest, I was very much confident about Cambridge application. I wrote it, like gave good amount of time, and like wrote it very nicely. So yeah, then the interview call came. Interview was with a faculty member. A very chilled out interview. He asked question for 15-20 minutes. He gave me some feedback about my application. I asked him questions for next 10 minutes. He was a professor of finance and accounting. Very interesting conversation. I was not expecting that it may get converted because of like long history of 10B schools rejecting me without an interview or waitlisting me. So I was not expecting, but then yeah, after a week I got a reply that I have been selected and to start with the process and everything. Fortunately, I got a scholarship there for around 25% of my tuition fee, and additional 12% again I asked them. So learned a lot about negotiating before even getting into B school, about scholarships, about extending your dates. So feel free to ask those questions. I have some insights about why my application got rejected. It has a lot to do with my undergrad performance. So if you have any questions on that part, we can discuss it. And I'll just stop here and let Pranjal take up the mic.
Thanks a lot, Bhaiya.
Pranjal, just a second, sorry. Thanks a lot for sharing, Bhaiya. Actually, there's one attendee who would like to ask something. Rohit, I'm giving you the privilege of disabling your mic. Kindly unmute yourself and you can ask your query.
Yes, I don't have any query as of now. I kind of did that by mistake.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Parth Bhaiya. Pranjal Bhaiya, I invite you to take it up from here.
Sure. Thanks, Amog. First of all, I'd like to thank Parth Bhaiya. He has always been a mentor, right from me joining IIST, and still we have, like, we chat on WhatsApp, we have calls, and to have a senior like him, who is actually more than a super senior, but still is so accessible, is a great job and speaks volumes about his personality. And I was very happy when I saw that he has chosen this path. So Parth, well, congratulations again. Coming on to my part, I was a fresher. 7th semester, I gave my CAT. I still remember the date, 29th November. I could not have given it if it was not in the second session, because my center was 60 kilometers away and the end-sems exams had just ended on 28th. So giving CAT itself was not in my plans. I gave it because my elder sister was giving it and she suggested that you can just try. I practiced just one mock paper before the examination, and during that examination in that year, the format changed. But what I realized was, as engineers, we have inherent advantages in the quantitative ability and the DILR section. It's only the verbal section which makes lives difficult. And that year, somehow I managed it, got 99.43 percentile, got calls from all the old IIMs. I don't know why, I was a fresher, but the point was my CG was high, and that played a huge part. Now I'll come on to the interview process. In the 8th semester, while doing my final year BTech project, I attended the interviews. I gave centers in Bangalore, and I attended 7 old IIMs interviews. I did not attend the new IIMs interview. Every IIM had its own process, interview before the pre-interview process and then the interview process. Like IIM Ahmedabad, they had a VAT PI round. They did not have a GD round. In fact, most of the IIMs now don't have GD round. They have VAT PI, and then they have the PI part. That is the personal interview. So they give 30-35 minutes of writing an essay or some sort of thing, and then you have the personal interaction with the professors or alumni. Now, what they judge is first confidence in the candidate. Second, is the candidate suitable for their program or not? Is he bringing in diversity or not? And third, is the candidate sure of what he wants to do in the future? Now, in the third part, I was absolutely not sure because I did not know what does MBA stand for even before giving CAT and even after clearing the examination. So I got mentored by a few of our seniors itself, like Prachi Didi, who was from IIM Shillong, and a few of my other cousins who had done their MBA from IIM or FMS. They guided me. The interview process in itself can be grueling or can be like Parth Via's very enriching process too. Like at IIM Ahmedabad, I was grilled for 35 minutes. In the end, I got waitlisted there and it was converted, but it was after 1 week of joining IIM Bangalore. So that was the point. And I had converted all my calls. Chose to join IIM Bangalore because of few things. One, in the category of ABC, that is Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta, the companies which visit are mostly the same. The rules which they visit for are also mostly the same. So I think these three brands are at par with each other. So that was it. And second, IIM Ahmedabad is notorious for having a lot heavy academics in the first year. And IIM Bangalore has a reputation of being chilled out. So that was another consideration. In most of the, now I'll come to the IIM process itself. Like once you get into the IIM, I was extremely scared on my first day because I was a fresher, knew nothing about business, knew nothing about what MBA stands for. But there were people who were from US, Singapore, different MNCs, had work experience ranging from 1 year to 6-7 years. In fact, in my class, 2 people, we were the youngest at 21 years and the oldest person was of 29 years. So that was the diversity which was present. People from different backgrounds. And for the first time in life, I encountered a set of people in which they are good, like they're better than you at everything which you know, which was a very humbling experience because there were people who were better than you at academics, then they were better than you at sports, at cultural events, even at partying. So that was a cultural shock. But once you give yourself time, you tend to settle in. That's what happened with me. The first 2 semesters at IIM Bangalore were very hectic because this is the period where you have a lot of core courses like strategy, finance, which forms your basics. And as engineers, we tend to have less knowledge about the commerce and the business part of it. So we need to give more time on this. Secondly, it is the period where you have to build your CV. So a CV at IIMs are 1 pager, which includes 37 to 40 points. Now imagine that you have to fill 37 to 40 concrete points with all your life's achievements. So that is one struggle which freshers have because they do not have the work experience points. So the entire section is left for them. So they have to find pointers in their academia, extracurricular activities, or positions of responsibility held in undergrad, and all the competitions which you have won in your school life, also in your college life. So that is a challenging part to fill your CV 40 points. And you have to make your CV stand out in at least one of the parameters to get good calls from companies. Now coming on to the summer placements. Summer placements is one of the most competitive environments at during the whole MBA experience. Because what happens is that people have very good backgrounds, you're competing with them for a very less number of posts, like 50, 60 top management consulting posts, 10, 20 top investment banking.
Pranjal Bhaiya, I think we lost you.
Pranjal, you are not audible. I think he is in a place where the network is not accessible. I'll just add on to what he was saying about summer placements. So summer placements are basically internships. These are the same thing in US also. Uh, these are depends on the range. Some for most of the B schools in US at least, they are 2 to 3 months long. So 10 to 12 weeks in all. And so these are like people in US at least. When I was researching about the B schools, I came to know that you join the college in August, September, and from November, December itself, you start preparing for the summer placements. These are very critical because first of all, it gives you an exposure about what kind of work would be there in a real work environment, and also many of these summer placements or these internships get converted into a PPO, which is a pre-placement offer. So you perform exceptionally well in those 3 months, and you get a pre-placement offer by the end of your first year. So you are very relaxed in your second year to how to pursue your education, what electives to take, because you are now like chilled out about the kind of job you would be getting, and you don't have to worry about that. So that's why it becomes very critical. Also, on the part of how the summer placement works, at least again in US. So there's a sort of hierarchy in a way how these companies approach. So consulting companies will come first, then the other finance related companies. So people have. I'm not sure how it works in India. Maybe Pranjal can add to it later on. But in US,
Yeah. Sorry
yeah,
for the
Pranjal,
connection. Actually, the electricity went off, so the Wi-Fi was connected.
no issue.
It will be
Please.
patchy. I'm very sorry to every attendee. Yeah. So I was on the summer internship process. What happens there is once you make a competitive CV, the companies start coming like they first give online application process. So it is managed by the placement cell, in which you apply for the companies one by one during the start of your second semester. And usually the summer internship happens at the end of the second semester. So usually people tend to apply to every company which comes because you don't know whether you'll get a placement to a selected or choice of a company or not. Now there are different days happens there, which is day 0, day 1, day 2, and some of the investment banks like Citibank or other investment banks, they come in day -1. That is on the slated day when the placements are tending to start. They come one day before that, and you have to sit for them. So during that process, you have to prepare for one industry specific, whatever industry you're interested in going to, like finance or consulting or even marketing. And then you have to prepare for company specific roles too, for which you would be sitting and giving the interviews for summer internship. Now, as I told that luckily I got into the day -1 part itself in City. The experience at City was nice because I was working in the trades and treasury department, in which they were inducing new technologies globally, and blockchain machine learning was a part of it. It was a nice experience because it was my first experience of being in a corporate environment. And you tend to gradually, again, as in MBA, at first it saw that it grows on you. Like it's very big at first view, but then when you tend to be inside the system, you get used to it, and it was an enriching experience. They also offered me a PPO. I did not accept it because I wanted to try for consulting. Now, management consulting experience at AT Kearney. There are top consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, ATK, Oliver Wyman, etc., which come to ABC. And these consulting companies are very much sought after because of two, three things. One, they help you explore across industries. Like in my 1 year tenure at 80K, I worked on 3 different projects and 4 different business developments. My longest tenure was for a textile giant or a lifestyle giant, with name I cannot say, but it was based out of Dubai. And for 6 months, I used to be in Dubai, and on weekends I used to come back to India. Similarly, for a metals and minerals giant, I worked. I got to visit Zambia in their copper plant. So you get to travel a lot. You get to experience a lot new things. You get to know about a lot of new industries. And the project duration is very short, like 4 to 6 months. So you have to become a master of every new thing in a very short period of time, and you have to give recommendations and solutions too. It involves a lot of analytical approach. You have to be a people's person too, because you have to interact with clients. You have to manage your managers and partners, and you have to manage your team members too. So that's a very interesting profile, and why people prefer consulting is that it opens up the horizons for you in future. Once you have done consulting, after that, when you exit consulting, you can be eligible for any roles, which is not that great in other domains. But yes, let's say if you go into a domain of finance or marketing or general management, then the future prospects are very bright in that domain itself. Personally, if I would have given a chance now to sit in the placements and choose a company or choose a domain, I would have chosen marketing or general management, because what happens is that in consulting, you don't have a personal life. It also takes a toll on your health, because you're constantly traveling and you're effectively working for 12, 13 hours a day. I'm not talking about just sitting on your chair and looking at things or chatting with people. You have effectively working on Excel or PowerPoint or collecting data or data analytics, or taking client meeting, etc., for 12, 13 hours in a day, which takes a toll. But yes, there are people who enjoy it, go on to become partners, and money is good. Similar case with investment banking. Investment banking, the effective hours of work could go up to 15, 16 hours. Very unhealthy lifestyle, but you become rich in a short span of 5 to 6 years, extremely rich. Like you can just retire after that and live a good life. Marketing, general management are chilled out profiles. You again get to travel a lot. You get to change things on ground. And sales is a bit different. It's hectic, but I think the whole corporate world runs on the pillar of sales. So that is a domain which can be explored too. After that, after Etigani working there for 1 year, why I chose to do a startup? Because one, I always wanted to do one. And as I told that I had the cushion of bigger brands with me, one IIST in itself, second IIM Bangalore, third 80K. So I knew that whenever in my life I would have to switch domains, I could do it very easily. And second thing was, the best part to do anything new or a startup is when you do not have any liabilities, or when you don't have uh, but apart from liabilities, when you don't have that mental baggage with you that you have to achieve something in such short duration of time. So I had my freedom. My parents backed me to do whatever I wanted. That was again a big support. This problem, we started this startup in 2020. During the lockdown, the farmers suffered a lot. They did not get market to uh, actually sell their produce. In fact, I come from my father's village is in Muzaffarpur, which is famous for its lychee. So the whole lychee produce was destroyed for the May 2020 and June 2020 lockdown period. So we came up with a vision of providing a stable market to the farmers. And currently we are 1 year into ground operations, more than 1 year, in fact. And the objective is again, one, to help the farmers itself, and two, to provide a stable market in a hyper-local domain. We are currently in 6 districts of Bihar. And the experience has been very good, because I have been traveling to villages, talking to farmers on one hand, then traveling to bigger cities, talking to exporters, talking to corporate giants. And one thing is for sure, all my degrees, all my experiences, all my CV goes for a toss when you have to sell your things, when you have to talk to, when you have to partner with you, when you have to convince the clients to actually purchase things from you. So this has been a very enriching experience. I've learned a lot, because when you do not have any cushion and your skin is in the game, that is the best learning one can get. So I think I would close here. Then we'll get on to the questions.
Hello, Bia. Good morning. Khagesh here. So first, I would like to tell all the attendees that if they have any question, they can raise their hand so that we can unmute their mic and they can raise their questions. For a starter, I have some questions from the people. Those they have submitted their questions, and I would like to read few of them. Like the very first question comes to everyone's mind if they are well settled in their job. So from 2013 batch, Srirag Nambia, he has asked one question to Parth sir or like to you also. I would like Parth sir go first. Were there any factors on the downside when you decided to go for MBA, as in some risk you might have taken while leaving the job?
Okay, I think Pranjal would be a better person to answer this, but I'll just take a bite because yeah, even deciding to apply to an MBA, that too in US, it's a very costly affair. The fees goes on upside of 1 crore if you check it out in Indian currencies. See, there were a couple of things which I had in my mind. One was definitely the fees, the loan part. So once you go, like if I had that much money, I would not have been like working for an MBA. So I would have to definitely take a loan. When you take a loan of that much amount, the chances of coming back to India becomes a little bit less. You have to be mentally prepared to stay in US or in any other geography where the currency exchange rate helps you to repay the loan earlier, because you will not get a salary in India after coming. Even if you do go to a Harvard or Stanford and return back to India, the salaries will not be equivalent in INR to what you would be getting in US. So that is one of the biggest challenges you have to like, if that is a factor in your mind. Like I was always prepared to come back to India, so I had to think twice or thrice about taking this call, because once going to US, staying there for 4 5 years to repay the loan and everything, then coming back to India, I have seen, at least in my personal circle, many people have not returned back. I know a couple of people who have returned back also. So that is something, sort of an uncertainty you have to tackle around. Another big thing for anyone leaving ISRO, even if it is for MBA or your masters, and I've talked to a lot of people from my seniors to juniors, it's a very big sort of emotional decision on the level, because ISRO at the end of the day is a very secure job. Uh, we went through like 2 waves in last couple of years. Nothing like on the part of our job, monetary compensation, everything, except for some DA reduction and all those things. There was no major harm. We were not given notices, or like if even people who were not performing or doing anything. So you get into that comfort zone very easily. So again, a downside to that, like you have a security, but yeah, you also get into that comfort zone. For me personally, that was the main reason for like going beyond ISRO, because I don't want to get settled in that comfort zone. Yeah. Pranjal?
Yeah, I totally agree with Padya. For foreign MBAs, you have to take the long-term view that you would have to settle abroad itself. For Indian MBA, what I wanted to say is that you always have to take the long-term view. I call it a 10 lakh trap in case of IIST and ISRO. I have seen people giving more importance to the 10 lakh rupees. My point is simple. If you can somehow arrange the 10 lakh rupees initially, then you would not have to worry about money ever in your life, because one, for MBA, you'd always get a loan. Two, in 1 year of my this investment management consulting job, I was able to repay my educational loan. Of course, I had the help of my father for 1 semester, but for the other 5 semesters, the fees I was able to repay through my management consulting job. So the point is, money should not be a big factor while making your decisions. It should always be what path we are told, whether you want a secure or a risk-free life, or you want to explore, or you want a non-settled life. So that depends very much upon the orientation of the person, how we are born and brought up, and what is our agenda. So I think that should play a major decision rather than that 10 lakh rupees or what is the fees of the MBA course, etc.
Okay, coming to the next question, there is a question from Haris. To become an investment banker or into finance, after MBA, the hiring companies give preference to people with CA background. Is this true?
Yeah, I'd go for this. Yes, investment banking roles are very few in the entire nation. Like for combining ABC, every year there would be only 15 to 20 roles open. So they give it to absolutely the best of the best. Mostly they prefer people with finance backgrounds who have actually worked in investment banks before, or they have a CA or a CFA level 3 background. But a huge but is that I have seen very bright IITians and other people from engineering background get into the investment banking thing, but they had a very heavy quant background. Like they had maths Olympiads, international maths Olympiads, etc. They had shown that they are stars in their domain. So that's a very competitive field.
I'll actually put this slide down, and maybe all of us can, open our videos, and maybe it'll be a even more interacting session then. So I invite everyone to open their cameras, and we have Mustafa here who has a question.
Yeah, Amog, just a request. I would not be able to open my video because the bandwidth is too low here. So I won't. I think the connection would be cut.
Okay, babe, no issues.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Okay, before the Mustafa goes for the question, we are having the hands in the attendees and it is all in the queue. So please don't put your hand down. We will just come in the sequence. Yeah, Mustafa, you can go first.
Hi, Bhaiya. Good morning. First of all, thank you for the informative talk. My question is that, you are going, the question is for Parth here. Yeah, you are going for the MBA after giving around 7 to 8 years to one particular job. Now, unlike Pranjal Bhaiya, who had the opportunity to do multiple internships after completing his education, changing some companies, getting some experience, you have been in the same organization for 7 years. So, what else do you add to your resume so that it makes it more impactful when you apply for the MBA job? Because in the Indian case, many people they prefer to work in ISRO for say 3 to 2 years and then switch. Because in the Indian case, if you are too long with one organization, I think the IIMs don't accept it. So how did you manage that?
Okay, so I'll add to 3 points. See, the education, the admission process at IIMs are very different as compared to USB schools, first of all. So that's why if you see, and even Pranjal spoke about this, the work experience was 1 to say 6 years, 7 years, at max 8 years. After that, they have a different course, which is Executive MBA, especially designed for people with 5+ work experience. One of my classmates, he went to IIM Bangalore after I think 6 years of experience, and he told me that he was the only one, along with one more guy who went from IISTAA. Those two have like this most number of years of experience. With me, see, 8 years, I was in ISRO for 8 years, but the roles kept on changing. I took a lot of responsibility. So what happens during the application process? Again, I'm focusing more on sort of a foreign MBA, US or UK based. They ask for, so they have this whole essay process. You have to write essays. They have different questions in those essays, and you have to showcase your leadership skills. So wherever you have taken initiatives and did a lot of those things. So within ISRO also, definitely it's one job, one organization, but the role keeps on evolving. If you are a sort of a initiator in your office, you can go ahead and take responsibilities in ISRO, and you get a lot of opportunities also to take responsibilities and take lead. So how to present those stories there. Apart from work, I have been very active in the sort of non-profit space also. I have been a meditation trainer, did a lot of workshop for school and college and corporates through that meditation channel. I have also been working with the Global Shippers. This is a World Economic Forum initiative in Bangalore from past 3 years now. I mentored, I worked with MAD when I was in Bangalore. So all these things, I did theater for some time in Bangalore. So all these things add a lot of color to your resume, and you do not come out just as a sort of monotonous person. And this is valued a lot, especially again, my experience is limited to US and UKB schools, and what I could figure out, this matters a lot to them because they want a very diversified candidate if he or she is coming with a lot of experience, to see that he is not or she is not just focusing on only one thing throughout his or her career and have a lot of other stuff to do. So that has helped me a lot. In fact, being active in IIST during Consentia, Dhana, Student Activity Board, in the Alumni Association, all those things can be very well presented on your CV if you have done real good work, because during the interviews, they tend to ask you those questions. And if you have good leadership stories, it adds a lot of color and value. I hope it answers what you were looking for. Cool.
Yeah, I just want to add one point. Mustafa, what you want to ask is multi-dimensional CV and a one-dimensional CV. I have seen people with a one-dimensional CV get into the top IIMs, and I don't know about foreign universities, but getting into the colleges is the easy part. Once you make your CV for the placements, then these are the people who face a lot of challenges. They don't find enough points to fill in that one page, and that's a recipe for disaster. So that's why, like Parth, you have to make your CV multidimensional in any way possible.
Okay, so
Okay, the next question is from Tejasri. I'll allow your mic. Tejasri, you can ask your question.
kindly also.
Okay. Hi, Bhaiya. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Right now, I'm a third-year student from aerospace engineering. So, because of my health condition, I had to miss out my entire fifth semester. Like I was in the hospital and I was on the bed rest for almost 2 months. So I had to miss out my entire semester, and right now, I am on an year break. Like from the August 2022, I have to join my juniors. Join with my juniors so that I can complete my third and fourth year. And the disadvantages of this is the college people have told me that I won't be getting a job in the ISRO, like that direct placement from the ISRO. So I want to know, like, what are the other opportunities present for me in this situation, and what I can do in the next upcoming 4 to 5 months as I will be free. Like what I can do or what I can learn so that I can make my CV look strong.
Pranjal, you would like to take it first?
Parth, please.
Sure.
I'll take it after you.
Okay, no issues. So I hope you are doing well. First of all, sorry to know what has transpired with you. See, in B schools, again, I'll give you an angle about the MBA, then I can add on to what you can do right now also. In B schools, if you have a good justification of what has happened to you during your undergrad, even during your job, suppose you left a job, you were not doing a job for a year or two, you have good scope there to like they encourage that you come as vulnerable person and tell them that what has happened, and if you have a right justification, I don't think so. It becomes a very challenging thing to get into a top B schools. First thing is that. Second thing, don't worry about the ISRO part. By the time you graduate, you will have enough opportunities, and you won't regret. Trust me, and you can ask most of the seniors who are in the first 4 or 5 years, who have spent like 7 8 years, that it does not make much of a difference in the long term, as Pranjal was saying. To take that long term into perspective, I do understand when you came to IIST, you would have that expectations, and coming from an Indian family, a lot of expectations from parents and all your relatives around. Try to just handle that on a personal level, but don't worry about that part. One thing which I have faced and why I was rejected from MIT, Yale, and all those B schools was my undergraduate performance. Not that I have failed or I repeated a year, but my maths score. So we have 5 semesters of maths course. I'm pretty sure it would be the same right now also. But in those first 5 courses, I got straight D's for 4, and 1 I got C. What happens in an MBA, again, US schools and all those things, it is very quant heavy. So they want to see that you have that rigor to do good amount of maths and quant. Even I was projecting myself as a rocket scientist, satellite scientist, and I would be doing a lot of maths in my job. That was not satisfactory for them, because again, they cannot take just on face value. They have to see facts. So I'll request everyone, if you have a little bit inclination of getting it into MBA, make sure that you get good scores in maths. Even if your overall CGPA is, I was 7.85. I was not an 8-pointer, in fact. But getting a call from MIT was a big thing for me for interview. Same with Yale, and even with Cambridge right now. So make sure that you have that thing done. Coming back to you, what you can do right now, try to develop some skills, try to take some initiatives, whatever you can do from home. There are a lot of opportunities doing a lot of things online. You may start a blog educating people about, say, if you're from aerospace, avionics, tell them what you're doing about your course. If you have particular interest about a particular field, it could be blockchain, it could be whatever comes to your mind. Start generating content around that. That could be the easiest thing which you can do at home. It creates a sort of, it gives you first of all a structure in your thought process in your writing, and also gives you an opportunity to see how the world is, do some research. It makes very good point on your CV that you initiated something when you started a newsletter. If that is not something you are more interested about, and you are in third year right now, can you just tell me that which year you would be graduating? It would be 2024 or 25?
It will be 2024.
2024.
Like if I'm going to repeat the year, it will be 2024.
Cool. So if it is 2024, if you have to join in August, if you have a little bit inclination about MBA or higher education, I'll request choose one of these GRE, GMAT. Try to give it by August. You have sufficient time. It's a good period. They are valid. I think both the scores are valid for 5 years. So even if you graduate after 2024, if you want to get a job, work for 2 years, that score will still be valid. If you just want to go for MBAs, mostly B schools don't accept. In US, they want a minimum of 2 years of experience. But I am pretty sure for masters, many people have gone just after their undergraduation, so that you can do. So this is one thing which I can highly recommend. B schools accept both GRE and GMAT. My admit from Cambridge has come from my GRE score. I have not submitted my GMAT score there. So GRE is also valid if you have a good GRE score. Other than that, if none of these works out for you, thinking your health condition, I would suggest you read a lot. Whatever comes to you. I'll not suggest read fiction, non-fiction. That adds a lot of value. I have not been a very good reader for all my life, and I started realizing in last couple of years that it's a great skill. In fact, I would add it to that. When you are doing your job also, as Pranjal mentioned, a lot of research in consulting, you have to sit across, read a lot of reports, get insights from them. So if you have a good knack of reading, do that. Other than that, if something else comes to my mind, I'll definitely get back to you. Pranjal, anything you can add?
Yeah, sure. So one thing is always keep your grades high, and in fact, top consulting and banks, they always put a filter on your CV of 999. That is more than 90% in 10th, 12th, and then above 9 CGPA in a grad. So be very conscious that if you're aiming very high, then you have to be capable of, like, your abilities to do questions. Second point, this is also covering a wider question of who should pursue MBA. Anybody, no matter if you're an introvert or extrovert, which I had seen in the list of questions, and also what are the kind of courses which you can do to make yourself capable for MBA. You should be very analytical and very quant heavy. So I would always prefer, like, anybody who's going for a modern day MBA, he should be well versed with data sciences, learning. You should be well versed with working in on Excel. And one thing which I am teaching myself now, and I would suggest everybody to learn, is good coding. Like, I think MBA, people think that it's focused on soft skills, but the world is changing. It's becoming very tech heavy. So hard skills would matter a lot. So make yourself very versed in at least one language, one programming language, and preferably make yourself very versed in playing with numbers, especially data science, and gaining insights from it. So in the 4 5 months, there are a lot of good courses on OCW, MIT, Courseware, etc., where for free you can learn. Like Andrew NG has a very good course for deep learning. You can go through these courses, get yourself versed in Python or any other programming language which you want, and learn some hard skills. And as Pathway has told, for you or for anybody else, I would not advise people to go for an MBA being a fresher, because we do not tend to appreciate the people who after job come for MBA. They appreciate it a lot more because they have gone through those experiences in their real life. So I would suggest everybody first go for a job, build your CV, and also you attain a better vision of what you want from your life. Once you go for a job, you get maturity. So go for a job, take some hard skills, go for a job which is very technical oriented, and you'd have an upper hand in your MBA applications too. Yeah, we can move on to the next question.
Okay, just 1 second, Bhaiya. So now, if we wanted to do like if we wanted to learn any programming language, and if I referred some YouTube videos or referred some books on my own, like what have to do? I mean, like what have to write in my CV? Like, should I have to write that I just learned Python from these books or something like that? I mean, I won't have any certificate telling that, right?
No, that's why I
I
told
mean,
you
if
to attend the free open courseware on MIT OCW. They give you certificates, and you can also go for platforms like Upgrad or other platforms which give you certification courses. So if your concern is
okay,
that, then there are a lot of options available today.
okay, Bhaiya. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Now I invite Chanaksha Bhaiya, where you can ask your question now, and if possible, you can also have your video on.
Yeah, sure. Right now, internet speed is very low. Thank you, Parth Bhaiya and Pranjal, for this nice introductory session. Good morning to everyone. Bhaiya, this question is to both of you, in a way. My question is most cliche question from almost all the B school is why MBA? How did you make your statement of purpose strong to get aligned with the school that you're applying for?
Parth, I would like to go in here first.
Sure, sure, please.
Yeah, make it very personal. It is always about you. So if you start asking people about your SOP, and if you start asking what should be a good answer for it, it may look good on the essay which you are writing. Like for I am Bangalore, we had to write an essay. For I am Ahmedabad, I had to essay before going into that process. We had to submit it on their portal. Even we had some reference letters which I took from Shaijuman sir, Lakshmi ma'am, and Chinmoy sir. So the point is, even when you're taking reference from them, make it very personal about you. So everybody's reason should be different. My reason at that point of time was entrepreneurship. I'm very happy that I was able to work on that vision. So any template which you are seeking here can be disastrous. If you are going for a generalist view and if your answer is generalist in that interview or in your essay, you're already out of the process. So make a very personal reason about you, work on something, and then reflect it on your interview. For example, I was working on an idea with few of the friends itself, and I talked about it in all of my interviews, especially at Ahmedabad and Bangalore, and they were very impressed by it. So that is something which they respect, that you have taken a stand for your own life.
Adding to what Pranjal said, that's the best way to approach. And trust me, I have done all these type of templating thing, copying essays from here, there, everywhere. At the end of the day, the invite I got from the Cambridge was based on the personal aspect of the essay. So make sure you bring in your own stories, something which are very personal to you. There's a lot of storytelling also involved, so keep that in mind, because at least in ISRO I was thinking that okay, I have not done anything significant. When I started talking to my consultant, then she started telling me, okay, this is a very good leadership story, this is I thought, okay, these are like trivial things, this is part of my job, I do it every day, nothing great about that. But it's how the perspective of other who are reading your stories matter also. So you have to keep that in mind, make it very personalized. Don't worry about how you would you be doing the same thing what you are mentioning in your statement of purpose. This has been told to me by a lot of people, because you go into a school to change yourself, to transform yourself. So there are things you may write, like okay, you want to go into say consulting, but during those 2 years you understand, okay, operations, nobody will keep you accountable that okay, you have written in your essay that you wanted to do consulting and now you are trying for operations job, so why you are doing that? Nobody does that. Once you get into the school, it's all on you, what do you want to do. But yeah, the application process, make it very personal, write very personal anecdotes. Don't write we did this, try to bring your own personality and your own leadership, what you have taken, where you have taken initiatives. And this is a big message to students who are listening to this, or even in your job. Try to take those initiatives in college, in your job. Even it fails, these are very good stories to talk about.
In fact, adding on to Pathway's point, he has touched upon the most important aspect of life, which I am understanding now, is storytelling. Right from the B school applications to what you do in your placements to your job in consulting or wherever, and to the startup currently. All I do is tell stories backed by data or personal anecdotes or anything which makes sense. So that is a skill which needs to be developed. We as Indians are not very good at it. We are not inclined to think innovatively about us. We need to be reflective, and that's why that is a skill which needs to be developed, to think structurally about problems and then develop a story about everything which comes around you. Because even if you're going to sell something now, you have to tell them a story. They're not going to buy your product, they're going to buy you. At consulting also, they're not going to buy your slides, they're going to buy the conviction which you're presenting it them, and the story which you're telling them, that how they will grow. So it's all about stories.
Is there a possibility that, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Please.
sure.
Yeah. Actually, Parth Bhaiya, this question is to you. See, we almost all the Indian B schools know like roughly about what's happening in ISRO. Like some few people will be having some intro about some works that's happening in ISRO. But if you consider like abroad, the people from abroad, they will not be having full idea about the works that we are doing and the hierarchy structure that is there in ISRO. I think like most B schools don't have any idea, maybe one or two at max. So how did you explain your work? Did you explain your work, or was there a need to explain your work in a process, in a breakdown process, or it was as simple as like normally whatever you write, they can understand it? Is it like that?
So see, first of all, again, my context for all the answers will be US and UK based schools. The AdCom officers, their admission committee, which they call, have people from background not from US. There would be mostly HR people from arts background, English majors, those type of people, right? So they see a variety of. So we are talking about India, about ISRO. Somebody may be going from say BHEL or Bell or some other government entity, some from another startup. So they cannot know everything about everyone. What they try to find out are those stories, again, leadership stories, what you have done in your job, even if it's a small startup or big startup. ISRO thing comes into perspective in your resume. There I have tried to share like it is in a very common sense, like I will write it is India's NASA, gives a quick reference. Okay, what is NASA? They know. And okay, it is he's working in India's NASA, gives a good clarity. Some of the B schools will ask in detail, describe your job, previous job, current job, all those things. There you have ample scope to explain things. Again, it's a lot about storytelling. Like I, in my introduction also, when Amog was reading, it reads as operations manager. My consultant strictly told me, don't write scientist, engineer, SCSD. Nobody here will understand, and it will get all confusing, right? What is your functional thing? What you are doing on the job? Are you doing operations work? Are you doing supply chain thing? Whatever you're doing, or if you're technical lead, include those titles which they can understand. So and even in your resume also, you will have to write your leadership qualities, like what initiatives you have taken. As Pranjal was taking, backed by data and facts. This is the satellite I was working. What was the price cost of this satellite? What is the initiative you took? What time percentage it decreased in efficiency or increased in efficiency, decreased in time lag, and all those things. Uh, at times they may ask again, if there are specific questions which ask about how your job, you can explain. Otherwise, it's not required. Very simple line about what the organization does, what is your role, you can explain in very few lines. Again, lot to do with writing skill and storytelling. And this was but your question is very right. This was the first thing I also had in my mind. How can I explain so complicated structure? uh, for example, MIT asks for an organizational chart. So there you can explain a lot of things, how your work is. It is very cross-functional, our jobs. We don't have proper hierarchy. You will be working with different departments and groups also. So those things MIT provided that, Stanford, Harvard did not, but they are totally fine. It totally depends on how you present your stories again and how you write them down. So don't worry about that part.
We have next Utkarsh from 2021 batch joining. Utkarsh, you can ask your question now.
So hello Parth sir and Pranjal sir. I am Utkarsh Utsav and I am first year student at IIST. So I have two questions and one question from Parth sir, that as you have told that in US and UK based colleges for MBA, they require 2 years of minimum experience in the jobs. So if we do internship during our undergraduate years, is it able to get selected in that top B schools?
2 years full-time job, not internship, not volunteer work. After job, proper 2 years. Some of the schools, like if I remember, Yale, Not sure about other B schools, but Yale and some have. Like ISB have an early program, so you can apply in your last year of your engineering. They will give you an admit, but you can join after you have done 2 years of job. So you get an admit right after your BTech at the end of your 4 years. ISB has that. Yale has that. Some other B schools have. So even at the end of your 4 years, you can write an application. They have a different pool of applicants for that. You are not competing with the major, like all the other crowd. But at the end of the 4 years, you write your application, get good recommendations and everything sorted, and you apply. They will give you an admit conditional that for at least 2 years you will work, and then you will join their program. This is 2 years, has to be full-time work, not voluntary. Internships are not counted in that. It has to be paid full-time job.
Okay, sir. And second question is, sir, from which year we have to prepare GMAT or CAT examinations? Means year from which we start our preparation, and so that we can get selected.
So CAT, I'll let Pranjal answer. But for GMAT, GRE, these scores are valid for 5 years, right? So if you give, suppose you're in first year, you give it right now, it will be valid till 2025, 26. So, and what B school applications, they ask for a valid score. So validity is for 5 years. So even if you have given in 2021, you are applying in 2025, it's fine for them. And in that scorecard, it is mentioned till what date it is valid. So this validity matters. So you can prepare and give whatever time is convenient. I always suggest like 4th year is a good time, especially your final year project. If you're not too much engrossed, you have little bit bandwidth. Take that time, 2-3 months, give 1 or 2 hours every day. Prepare for that, because then for next 5 years you are sorted. So you can do 2 years of job experience, 3 years of job experience. Even after that, that score will be valid for good 5 years. So maybe end of 3rd year or 4th year is a good time to give GMAT GRE. Pranjal, for the CAT thing?
Yeah. For CAT, always for any examination, take an outside-in approach. First, give any previous year CAT paper, the whole CAT paper, and see where do you stand, how many marks you're getting, and which section you're strong or weak. Then buy books about that section, solve questions. Like Arun Sharma is a good book which people recommend. Go through the level 1, level 2, level 3 questions. Practice it a lot. I don't think any coaching as such is required for us. Solve a lot of PYQs, and I think you would be good to go for CAT. In the verbal domain, I want to suggest 3 specific things specifically for the students who are currently studying in IIST. 1, always get good grades, which I have already emphasized. Second, participate in a lot of college events, become a responsible POR holder, because that would be very handy in filling up your CV points. And third, please become fluent in the English language, because none of us have English as our first or mother tongue, and we have to learn it. 1, to speak it grammatically correct, and second, to be fluent in it. You need a lot of practice. I also practiced it a lot. So start reading things while speaking them. Talk to yourself in front of mirror or whatever feels comfortable to you. Become well conversant in it, and then you would see that even the verbal section of CAT would be easy for you. So these are the 3 specific things which I think the college students in IIST need to keep in mind, and they have to work on it right from the moment which they decide that they have to go for MBA.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think we can have Mustafa now. Mustafa, you can go ahead with your question.
I just thought of one more question. I had mentioned it in the form as well. The question is that how is the MBA that Parth Bhaiya will do now at his age and the 1-year MBA in a foreign university different from the MBA which Pranjal Bhaiya has done when he was 21 years old? So, and that was a 2-year MBA. Is the program same?
No. So the subjects which you would study would be the same, but you'd get to party a lot if you go for a 2-year MBA in the second year. And you'd get to explore, like you'd get to travel to an international university if you opt for it. And the 6th semester is all party. Like you have very less credits. And if you have got a PPO, then it's the biggest party of your life. So it's a very chilled out atmosphere. You get to make a lot of networks and connections, and you're not always in a hustle. Like you can actually form good relationships if you go for a 2-year MBA. And remember, again, there was a question in the list which Khagesh sent. Should you go for an online MBA? Never. Because MBA is not for the classes which you are going to attend. not for the placements. It's always for the people, the 400, 500 people which would be around you, or the 800 people combining the two batches. They're amazing. Like, you should get that feeling that you're good for nothing, because we come off of our bubbles where we have been toppers or we are good in what we think we are good at. And when you see people like 50, 60 people who are good, better than you at everything which they do, then it's a nice experience to have.
Yeah. Pranjal covered it very nicely. First of all, no online MBA. Online MBA does not make sense at all. MBA is all about networking and meeting people, not about the courses. All the courses what are being taught in MBA B schools, you can get them online for free in most of the open source MOOCs and everything. So don't go for that. 2 years, 1 year. It depends a lot on at what stage you are getting. As Pranjal said, he just went after the this thing BTech, and he also says that if you have some experience, you add a lot of value. Keep that in mind. For me, it was more about how to get. I have transitioned from 2 year application to 1 year. Like all USB schools are 2 years. They have some courses for 1 year, but my all applications were targeted for 2 year MBA. My idea was this only, that I will get some time to do a summer internship, understand, because I'm making a big switch from technical side to business side, to get that opportunities to meet people, do small projects and everything. 1 year, because now the time was running and I wanted to make sure that I get an MBA at the end of the day. It should not happen that I'm going for an MBA after 20 years of work ex. So I chose for that. The Cambridge MBA curriculum is very sort of practical. They have like 3 projects, 2 months. From 12 months, if you see 6 months, we are doing only projects and consulting work. That was my biggest reason. Course-wise, it is compact. If you see a 2 year MBA, as Pranjal also mentioned, I've talked to people across MIT, Stanford. The second year is very chilled out. If you compact everything, the course structure will ideally take 1 year, but it is so spread out. In US, there are like 4 days of classes only. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is most of the time open for everyone, because there will be a lot of networking events, people coming from different companies, you visiting different people, parties and all those things. But as again Pranjal said, that it gives you a lot of opportunity to make good friends, know each other very well in depth, and that kind of relationships helps you down the line.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. Again, the network was bad.
Thank you, Bhair.
Yeah. Rohit Singh, are you there? Rohit Singh?
Did Rohit
Yes.
ask a question?
Hi Pranjal, hi Parth भैया. Very nice to
Hi
hear you.
Rohit, कैसे हो?
बढ़िया, आप कैसे हो Pranjal?
बढ़िया है.
So Parth भैया, the question is for you. मतलब आपने कहा कि GMAT score, your GMAT score was not good. So what was your score, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. I'm very open about all these things. So first I got 680, then 710, then again 680. For USB schools, you have to be very competitive. My CGPA was not like 9 point something, so that it could have compensated for a low GMAT. Most of the people in US who apply are Indians. Crazily, they get 760, 770. So that kind of the average runs high. So to compensate for a 710, I should have like exceptional CGPA, or I would have done some good quant courses along the line, or did something exceptionally to compensate for that. There are avenues to do that. I don't think so that my rejection from MIT was based on my low CGPA or low GMAT, because MIT has even waived off GMAT last year. But Yale had specifically told me that they wanted more from me in terms of my undergraduate performance, why it was a little low. So yeah, if you have any follow-up, let me know.
There's another question where like there are other types of management courses like supply chain management, operation research management, and all sorts of management courses which are being offered by these management schools. So have you considered those colleges, like those courses?
One word answer, no. But in MIT, it happened that they have some collaboration with some college in Europe, and they offered that I can get into a supply chain. I did not wanted to. See, in ISRO, I was already pigeonholed into one particular department, doing thermal stuff, and only that. I did not want to go into a job again with that sort of very narrow thing. I want that option to lie with me at the end of 1 year or 2 year MBA, to choose if I want to go into supply chain thing, operations thing, or things like that. So I never considered. But yeah, in a moment of desperation, when I was rejected from everywhere, I had this fleeting thought that should I take this because that was the only reason for my, like, I could see that that as the only option for an exit from ISRO. But I'm happy that I did not do that foolishness out of desperation.
Okay, well, that will be all. Thank you,
Okay.
Pranjal.
Yeah, next question we have from Amit Mishra from 2019 batch. So he has asked, to become an entrepreneur, do we have to do MBA? Is it necessary?
Absolutely not. Why?
Not at all.
Entrepreneur is someone who solves problems. You can solve problem while sitting at home also.
Okay, and one more question we have from Kiran. He has asked, is math compulsory for MBA?
Very heavy, yes.
Yeah, they will not.
As Parth has also told.
Yeah, if I'm correct, Pranjal, they don't ask for calculus, but apart from that, calculus basic, I think differentiation would be required to get limits and all those things. But apart from the statistics, those things will
statistics is very heavy. Yeah.
Okay, next.
So the level of statistics was higher even from IIST's courses in probability and statistics.
Yeah, I can see Amok's eyes popping out of his head. But
yeah, but you don't need to be scared about it, because the about 50 to 60% of component is from group projects, etc. So nobody fails. But yes, you have to know your stuff.
Yeah, and also note that people in IIMs and all these B schools don't come only from engineering background. There would be people from arts and other who have not studied maths to the extent we have studied. So
their eyes open even wider than you, and it's like a horror for them. Like for engineers, the courses like finance, accounting, corporate finance are a horror in the first 2 semesters, but they have a bigger horror for decision sciences or quantitative aptitude. So that's not a big deal.
Yeah, we have one question that was in the questionnaire, what people have asked. So the question comes from Narendra Kumar. Yeah, he has asked, like, if someone does the CFA certification, will it be helpful before going to the MBA, IIM colleges or all?
Pranjal, maybe you can answer this. I can give an anecdotal answer later on after, based on your experience.
But yeah, I think first you go, then only add something on it.
Cool. So I came to know about CFA from one of my friend. He was in IT BHU. Then he was working with Coal India Limited for 5-6 years in a mine. He was very interested in finance. He did the CFA level 1. He was approaching level 2. He went to ISB. Right now he's working with if I'm correct, with a credit agency or an investment banking agency. I think Credit Suzy, if I'm correct, and very different background. Like he was proper into mines. I know he was at the location, at the field. So I do personally think, I've not spoken to him, but about how CFA has helped. But I think if you want to get into those fields, especially into finance, investment banking, CFA definitely adds value to the whole MBA experience. But I think Pranjal also spoke about it earlier. Without that also, if you are really interested, if you can project yourself in that way during interviews and your CV, it's not that you have to have a CFA, it's a good to have. But if you don't have, you can even without that, you can get jobs. But it depends on a lot of variable factors, like what was your background, have you worked in finance before, have you done some projects, how's your understanding of those topics, and all those things.
Okay,
CFA level 1 doesn't have much respect. CFA level 2 gives you some entry into the finance domain. CFA level 3 is where the real game starts, and CFA level 3 is very difficult to achieve. So if you are actually like a perfect example given by Parth, if you are from a completely different domain and want to switch to finance, then it's a definite to have. You should have it. Then only anybody would take you seriously. If you don't have that maths Olympiads or any other extremely quant heavy star point in your CV.
Okay, so coming up next, we have in the queue Prashant. Prashant, I will allow your mic. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Maya. Thank you for this insightful lecture. And I would like to know your insights more about this expenses like fees, and I inclined toward this MS and MTech also. Like some of the scholarships also cover this tuition fees partially. Like how to get this more details about this scholarships and all. Uh, that helps us into this MS in abroad?
So the best way would be, first of all, see what colleges or what courses you want to go about, and try to, so at least at this point of stage, I can maybe not just Harvard, but apart from that, most of the B schools and good universities across US and UK, from King's College to all those places, we have a lot of alumni going in there. So you can connect with them. They will help you out because they know a lot of about these scholarships and these things. Try to see there are region specific scholarship, like UK have this Commonwealth and Chevening scholarship, which I think a lot of, not a lot, but few of the IISTs have got those. So you can tap into that. That makes MS courses very easy because they cover, I think, full financial pieces. There are a lot of small scholarship offered by, say, Aga Khan Foundation, Mahindra, Tata's, and all those. Try to research about them online. Once you go online, you'll come to know. Most of the big universities have a lot of corpus. Like in Cambridge, they have a lot of money, so you have to ask them. But first, get an admit. Don't worry. My approach to applications is, like, if you are confident about yourself as a person, first get an admit, then figure out the finances. Don't let finances stop you. Take the long term perspective, as Pranjal mentioned, that this 10 lakh rupees. I do understand. I was not from that family that I can afford to pay 10 lakhs and break my bond, so I waited for that. So everybody's circumstances would be different, but don't let yourself limit to even think because of that. Have that audacity to at least think, go beyond that. Once you get an admit, you will definitely find a lot of ways. You can ask for a scholarship from corporates, from a lot of foundations in India, abroad. That will definitely help. Again, depends a lot on the specific courses you want to pursue. And trust me, you have a lot of alumni in all these places to guide you.
Yeah, Bhaiya, to add a question in the same series, there is a question from Varsit Reddy. He has asked, other than scholarships and loans, do we have any other option to take care of the expenses, like day-to-day expenses? For that, do we have to have enough saving from the India itself when we are going there?
Again, for MBA in US, like, there's a Prodigy Finance. They give, once the B school sends you a list that, okay, this will be your expenses. Based on that, they give you loans. So those loans cover sometimes, if not always, sometimes your personal expenses, because those B schools will write, okay, this is the cost for your, say, stay in hostel, and this is your meal plans and all those things. Apart from that, personal expenses, definitely you have to take some money from your own side. What I've heard from people is that summer internship in US, like 3 months you remain there, you'll get almost a salary equivalent to what you're getting in ISRO for a year. You can save that money for the second year. But for first year, you may have to arrange your finances in and around here. Some scholarship do cover your personal expenses, like the Reliance scholarship I was talking about, Stanford, they cover 80%. So that includes your flying in from India to US and then staying in, all those things. But yeah, definitely personal expenses. As well in IIST, you have to take care of yourself first hand. If you start earning part time, if you do something else, you have another source of income, you can channelize that money into those expenses.
Next question we have from Saurav Kumar. Please go ahead.
Hey everyone, thanks for organizing this. I'm Saurav from 2020 batch. Guys, I want to ask this one thing. I'm currently in tech in a startup non-ISRO. Does MBA make sense for me in terms of ROI if it was not for paycheck?
Pranjal, please take this.
Sort of depends upon your future goals. What I feel is everybody in our position should have a master's degree. It can be MBA or MS or anything else. But if you have just a bachelor's degree, you might be earning good for a while, but you'd hit a plateau after a period of, let's say, 10 years or 15 years, and you would not be able to get into the higher ranks unless you make your own, like you form your own startup and you remain the CXO position in it throughout.
If I specifically talk about tech, so there are like certain two fields, right? Either one can be an IC individual contributor, or others could go into something like product management, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the salaries are crazy, right? Even if you compare that to someone at BCG, they are almost equivalent.
Yeah, so again, you're taking a short-term view. The salaries are crazy because right now the tech market is at boom. And like taking my own example, even for making a website, which used to take 10 to 15,000 rupees, now they're asking for 25 to 30,000 rupees initially, like for a static website. So
Got it.
the market is at boom right now. Take the long-term view. You have to go for a master's. It doesn't matter how much money you'd lose in that ROI, because if you want to play the long game, you'd have to constantly upskill yourself. One, through technical skills which you're learning on your own, and second, through the certifications or the degrees which you earn on the way. Show me any CEO or any Fortune 500 CEO or any tech CEO who doesn't have a good degree, like a good MBA or a good MS or a good PhD. Don't give me the example of Mark Zuckerberg.
Got it.
Tell me about any other CEO, Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai or any other CEO. They always have a very good MBA from a very reputed
Got it. Help me. Can you help me
European
understand this? As a let's say you're graduating after MBA, so you are more focused on your soft skills, right? So
yeah.
as a techie, I'm very much focused on my hard skills. I can very easily negotiate and things like that. How the dynamics
No,
change
sort
once
of.
I
So,
get my
so
MBA?
what happens is that when we are in the domain or when we are in college in undergrad, what difference I have seen in myself is that the brain remains the same, but we are not programmed for structured thinking. So what MBA ingrains in you is structured thinking. You will always break down problems in a better manner. You will always think about them in a certain way, which leads to them being solved. That does not come automatically. That you have to learn while being in that system for a while. And that is the greatest value add of MBA, which I have seen in my life. Like the problem can be as small as getting a girlfriend or as big as starting your own startup. How would you go about it structurally? How would you break it down into simpler points? How would you get on to solving in a specific priority order? So that is what MBA teaches you, in my opinion, and you have to learn that.
Got it. And do you have any opinion on product management courses from like getting that from an MBA school or going for MIMS from UC Berkeley?
I think Parth would be a better person.
Yeah, to be very honest, I don't have any opinion right now. Product management, I have a lot of my friends who are into product management. Some of them have done an MBA, some of them have not. Both at the same rank, but again, it's a very shorter view. They have experience of 8 to 10 years. I don't know what happens, as Pranjal has mentioned, in the long term. Product management, as such, in fact, like I'm hiring for my company for product managers. We are not seeking. Definitely, there are entry level jobs, but we are not seeking people from MBA or any specific background. The product management skills, as Pranjal has mentioned out, are very specific. Like if you have those problem solving skills, you are good to go as a product manager.
Got it. Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Sagesh, you are on mute.
Yeah, so I think Avinash Chandra has a question he'd like to be addressed.
Yeah. Am I audible? Good afternoon to everyone. So, Parth, you had mentioned some time back that you had interactions with the faculty members during your interviews and with the committee members for the admission. And they also had given you a lot of suggestions on your MBA application. Are there some other points which you have not mentioned so far that you would like to share with us?
Oh, non-specific questions. Good. Nothing very like I think I've covered most of the things. The biggest challenge for me was my undergrad math thing, which came into picture. Another was what I have come to realize also is a lot of people pay a lot of attention, and this has been talked about a lot about adcoms also, that don't worry about the who is giving you recommendations. It should be more personalized. It does not matter if he's the director of your institute or the CEO of your company. If he's your immediate senior, maybe just 2 years or 3 years elder to, even younger to you. In a startup, it happens a lot that you would be reporting to a younger reporting officer who would be younger to you. It does not matter at all until unless he or she can give you very specific stories, not write a very generic recommendation letter that he is a very studious person, performed very well, got this much CGPA, got this much this, that. No, not like that. If it can be templatized and repeated anywhere, then it is not a good recommendation letter. It should be very specific to you. The person should be able to talk about your own stories, where he has seen you growing up, challenges you have faced. those play a much more, those have much more weightage than say CEO writing, yeah, he has worked under me and he performed well. That will not add a value. That is something I came to realize. So most of the time you have to sit with your recommender and discuss on those things about those stories. It can also give people insight on the part when you are in your job or in your school to have that kind of relationship with your boss or superiors whom you look up to and work with, so that later stage, if you come back to them after 2 to 3 years for a recommendation, they would be more than happy to do that hard work on your behalf.
Mhm. I have one more question. I have one question to Pranjal. Pranjal, you mentioned that the quality of structured thinking is one of the main, qualities that you gained from this program. Could you please help me understand, maybe through an example, what these qualities are? And
okay, if I remember correctly, you were a topper of your batch, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So let me give you a problem. You have to form a satellite team which would send Starlink-like satellites for your division in ISRO. How would you go about it?
So what I would do is, first is
okay. So that okay. You don't need to answer this. Like the time which you took, you were thinking about it, right?
Yes.
So let's say the answer should come to you instantly. Like you should have broken down the problem then and there, and then started talking about it, because that's what happened in CEO presentations. To give you an example, I was giving a presentation for that Dubai company itself, and the CEO was sitting there. She had a value of $6 billion, and she asked our partner a question that, okay, what do you think would double our revenue? And we were doing that project on a cost side. The partner, like it took all of us aback, because we were doing it on a different, we were working on a different problem, and she has asked an entirely new problem which was not under our ambit. The partner immediately, he started answering while he was on the go, and that instilled conviction. For example, if I have asked this question, I just made it up. I'd go about, first I'd divide it into forming a team, forming a scope, and then going about the implementation part. What would be the stakeholders? What would be the processes involved in it? So you need to start thinking about these things immediately once a question is asked in any domain. So that does not come automatically. That is a structured thinking. How would you like when I asked how would you go about it? Would you structure it on a stakeholder basis? Would you structure it on a processes basis? Would you structure it on a life cycle approach? So your entire life becomes thinking on frameworks. You go through so many frameworks that you can actually fit in most of the life's problems into some or the other of that framework, and then you can start thinking about it. That's what I was talking about. Does that give any overview about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Khagesh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Atul, I have unmuted you. Please go ahead.
Okay, hi team. So I don't know whether this question has been discussed here. Basically, right now I'm in a tech background, working for an IT company kind of thing, and right now I'm planning to do my MBA too. So my question is like whether I am limited in any way when selecting my specializations, or is there any particular specialization that would be good for me with my background? Yeah.
So when you are saying specialization, this is with respect to the MBA, right?
Yes.
I would see if there are specific courses, then definitely you may have to think. But most of the BA schools ask for specialization once you get into the college campus, if I'm correct. So if that is the case, I would heavily recommend that go with an open attitude, open mind of pursuing a general management, and then and there see what like pushes you, what takes you that okay, this is something I would like to do or explore more, and then choose either that specialization or go for those electives and do that. I would not. I'm like, on a very personal level, I'm not a big favor of going for specialization in MBA, until unless you are into that B school. If you have too much of clarity, then it makes sense. If you don't have, then just go with an open mind and explore there and then choose there.
Okay.
I
Okay.
absolutely agree with Parth. There is no point in doing a specialized MBA, and even top IIMs do not offer any specialized MBA. You can always choose electives, whatever you want to study there, and take more credits in it. And as an IT professional, to give you some confidence, in our batch of 400 people, about 50% would be from the IT background. So it does not limit you in any way.
Okay, but at the end of the course, or like at the end of the procedure, is it like most of these IT professionals are going into a particular stream, or like they're
Yeah,
going to?
that happens in placements. In placements, you might be limited. If you do not have any star points in your CV, then mostly the tech companies or general management roles would take you. But again, you can change it while being in the college itself. You can get good grades, you can get into better cultural committees or any other clubs, and you can change your CV there. So that's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, next in the queue, we have a question from the questionnaire. Amit Misra, a student of 2019 batch. Mostly generally people who don't want to pay the bond will have this question. So he's asking, just after the BTech, I want to join the ISRO, but later on I am interested in MBA. So how exactly should I plan? When exactly should I start preparing for CAT or GMAT and take other exams?
Cool. So I'll take this up. First of all, decide when your bond is getting over, if that is the constraint. Suppose it is getting at the end of 3 years. So and after the end of again, and if you are a little bit sure on what kind of MBA you want to do, if in India, then definitely start preparing for CAT as per that timeline. You would know that CAT calendar when the CAT happens. Take 6 to 8 months before that for preparation. The results will be out and you will be joining the course. Suppose if you have given CAT last year, you will be joining the course this year. So preparation starts say last January, 1 year back from here. This is what I understood for CAT. For GMAT, it is very open. They have like most of the B schools in US have 3 application cycles. It starts from the deadline starts. First application deadline will come around August, September first week, August end. Second is around December. Third is around March. Go back. I would highly recommend that get done with your GMAT or GRE, whatever you choose to decide at the earliest. That, as I told earlier, also they have 5 years of validity, so you can do it right away if you have more time on hand. With a job, at times for some people it becomes difficult. Also, your sort of academic background or academic inclination changes a lot when you get into a job. Uh, Quant wise, I don't feel anyone will have any issue in GRE GMAT. I personally had issues with verbal, but my verbal has been poor from long time, like specifically in academic side. So if that is something you come to realize after giving a couple of mocks, you can start focusing on that. A good GMAT to GRE preparation for the first time takes 3 to 4 months. Don't give time beyond that. I have prepared for GMAT for 1 year, and you can see the results of poor scores. So I have a very structured preparation for that. 3 to 4 months. 4 months is the max. If you start planning today, give it by April end or March, May first week. Not more than that. Don't take more than that time. Applications may take some time. If you are applying to a lot of these schools, the questions are different, but your answers would be same in the sense your stories would be similar. You have to just again use storytelling and writing skills to modify it to what the questions have been asked. Again, if you most of the B schools release their questions around June. Again, I'm talking to US and UK. Most of them do not change their questions year after year, but sometimes they do. So that those questions will be available to you around June. So if you start preparing, if you're done with your GMAT by that time, you can start working on your CV. Irrespective of the B school, the same CV is applicable to everyone. Some may change the format, but the content would be same. So get ready with your CV. Give yourself time for a month or and a half, because if you want to get it reviewed by your people, they will not have time. Like you cannot just send it to say Pranjal or me, भैया आज CV भेजा है, कल भेज दो आप edit करके, क्योंकि हम लोग का अपना timeline रहेगा. मैंने ये किया है लोगों के साथ और लोगों ने मुझे मुंह पे मना कर दिया था. So that's why I'm telling you कि that does not work. So take that margin in your preparation thing. And after GMAT and CV is done, focus on B schools. Register at their online portals, research about the essays and all those things, and focus. So timeline you can work around from that. Again, coming from the deadlines of the B schools, which round you want to apply. Round 1 is mostly recommended for Indian candidates because a lot of seats are open. Round 2 is reasonably fine. Round 3, most of the B schools themselves will say no. because the visa and all those things takes time. So round one and round two, whenever you are comfortable, you do that. So I hope I've given you a structure to work around. I cannot give you a timeline that do this is this month. Based on your bond period getting over and all those things, you can structure it around.
Yes, surely this will help. Yeah.
Just one point here.
Yeah, sure.
I have this complaint to every IST, including me. We are too much driven by this 10 lakh trap. If you're sure that you do not want to work in Israel, you have to go outside, start exploring your options then and there when you start thinking about it. Second, think of yourself as a startup. If you're confident in yourself that you would earn a lot in future, then any of your relatives, any of your family members, or even the companies who are giving personal loans would invest in you. So money is not the problem, period. Especially when you have gotten into a good branded institute like IIST, money is not going to be an issue forever. Take it from me. It's always about our thinking, which stops us from doing things or taking it further into the future. Because future is a very nice or cozy place to be in, right? It's always tomorrow, and you don't have to think about or put in the efforts today. So 10 lakh is not the problem. It's the putting in efforts part which is the problem. If I go into the fundamental problem here.
Okay, next question we have from Chanakya. Please, sir, go ahead.
Just one. So we are at 12:16 now. So we'll be inviting just a couple more questions so that we can stick to our schedule. So these will be the last couple of questions. Bhaiya, please go ahead.
I already had the privilege to ask the question. I think Chandrakant is one more person who's waiting. He didn't ask the question. Can I pass on the question to him?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Chandrakant, please go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
It was a nice talk from Pranjal Bhaiya and Parth Bhaiya. My question would be a personal thing. I have been working in NARL, which is kind of a research institute. It doesn't have much of a management kind thing, roles and all. So I've been planning to do an MBA from past 1.5 years or something. For some reasons, I couldn't do it. Right now, by this year, I think it would be I would be completing 5 years of my job. So I can apply for an executive MBA. So according to you, or what advice would you give? Should I go for an executive MBA or a normal 2 years MBA, or which would be better for me? Because I personally feel I don't have a managemental role experience in this NRL laboratory or whatever.
Okay, so I'll take this up first.
Yeah.
I also thought the same, and that's why I was telling the story that when I talked to a consultant and she told me, okay, these are management. So I'm pretty sure the kind of work we have been doing here, and I know a lot of people. My job definitely was a little bit on the side of project management and operations, but I know a lot of people, at least in URSC, my friends, juniors, who are in core tech field, proper communication or digital groups, but I can sit with them and tell them, okay, these are the leadership stories they can put out very well in their essays and everything. So don't think that you don't have an official designation as such of management, or you are not put into a project as such. Even in research, research is not done. Like take example of Dr. Kalam, like very big example. He was not sort of an MBA or thing like that, but the kind of command he had managing critical projects. So it is not dependent again on the opportunity, on the title, or on the role. It's more about your initial initiatives. You are suppose even running a very technical, doing a technical project all by yourself, but then how that technical project is fitting somewhere into a bigger project, right? It would be helping out a team maybe for launch vehicles. And what I can understand basic is like weather prediction and all those things. You're collaborating with other team, you're passing on the data, you are getting some data from someone else. This is a lot of interpersonal discussion or communication you are doing. So how we are getting that data, and in government offices, you are asking for a data, they will say we will give you tomorrow, then tomorrow they're not giving, they'll give after 1 week. This is the exact kind of work you would be doing even after post MBA, and I think Pranjal can attest to that. So don't worry that you don't have those skills. First of all, you can easily project that. Executive, 2 years MBA, India MBA, US MBA is a very personal choice. You have to figure out what your long-term goals are. If you feel of talking to one of us, in person, we can have that call, no issues. But that is a very personal call. You have to see where you want to be after getting an MBA, what kind of industry, what kind of role, why you want to do an MBA first of all. Is it only just getting it out of ISRO or to switch to corporate world? So all these questions have to be answered before deciding what you want or which MBA you want to go about. I hope it helps.
Yes, bhai.
Pranjal?
Yeah, bhai, I've covered it all. For Indian case, I can say that I'd always prefer a 2-year MBA than an executive MBA for 2-3 reasons. One, the cost is mostly the same, and executive MBA is just for 1 year, and they also pay the same amount, in fact, more than us. Second, the pool is very small for executive MBA, so you don't get much diversity of ideas, and they have the pretty similar courses like us. So it's better to study the same thing, which a much better pool of diverse participants. And if you get an Indian admit to a normal MBA, go for it. That would be my advice.
Thank you, bhai.
Yeah, so in order to stick to the schedule, this is the last question we will be taking now. And we are really sorry if we couldn't reach out to your questions or something. So you can drop your questions or you can mail us. So this is the last question we are taking. Vibhor, you can go ahead. I'm allowing your mic.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, so my question is to Parth Bhaiya. In the beginning, when Parth Bhaiya was telling his story, he said that he has some insight to why his application got rejected and how to negotiate the scholarships. So would you please broaden the light on that part?
Bhaiya, you are on mute.
Sorry. So I was in that state of mind that my ISRO background will help me cover all of my low points in my undergraduation and my GMAT score. It helped me to get to a point where I could score an interview, but I think these schools also have that fact-based checklist to consider all these things. So 2-3 weak points was, one was definitely my math score, which was told to me by UCLA also and Yale. Another was low GMAT score as compared to the peers. I had very good score in quant, but verbal was very poor. So that brought the overall score down. These two, I think, are the main reasons. Experience-wise, storytelling-wise, I think I was like in a very pretty good state to tell my stories, which came out very well. Yeah, these two has been something which has bothered me a lot. For INSEAD and Oxford, definitely I was like sort of very exhausted. A lot of things were going on in my personal life also. I was traveling and all those things. So Oxford and INSEAD, I could not give a very good effort to the applications. It was not very personal. I just tried to copy it from here and there. And as Pranjal said, it just ruined everything. For Cambridge, I had some time. I was in a very peaceful state, so I could like put good efforts into that. So it made a lot of difference. And I had like sort of an inkling that Cambridge is one place I would get a call from. So yeah, two things. Unfortunately, I did not have any control, and that's why when I was talking to Khagesh, I told that if there are students who want to talk, I would be more than happy to speak to them, because a lot of people will come to you and give you this type of nonsensical thing that CGPA does not matter in this world and all that. It matters. It at least mattered for my admits. I'm not saying you get a 10 point or 9.5 point or whatever. Like, don't put a ceiling or a milestone, but you are there to study, have a good balance of life. But yeah, especially if you're planning to go for an MBA or even MS, try to see your math scores are in place so that it does not trouble you as they troubled me. Another challenge, this is purely from ISRO perspective. I had this notion that I could not ask for recommendation from my bosses, because if they come to MBA was very looked down in my department, and people like, yeah, what will you do after doing an MBA? You will sell soap and oil, and this is the only thing MBA do. This was the first thing told to me on my face, and I was like, okay, I cannot ask for recommendation from these people. So if you are joining into a department, or if you are in a ISRO office, try to have good relationship, at least couple of people. They ask for 2 recommendations, so in depth, where you can go and talk to them. B schools also encourage, like they allow for, not encourage, but they allow for people if they have retired. So one of my recommenders was my boss, who was just retiring, and I asked him for recommendation. They sailed through. Another was my deputy project director. I had very good relationship. Once I told people that I got an admit, people told me that, yeah, you could have asked for recommendation from them also, but I don't know how it would have worked in hindsight. But yeah, recommendation is one thing which may create challenge for people in ISRO. So have good relationship, at least two of your seniors, not peers. Don't ask your IIST colleague कि अरे ये मेरे बैच वाला है इससे मांग लेता हूँ, वो पता चल जाता है लोगों को. At least senior to whom you are reporting, you are responsible for the work he has allotted to you. So those type of people.
Okay, so we are really sorry that we are not able to address more questions at this moment. Thank you, Parth Bhaiya, and thank you, Pranjal Bhaiya. I'd like to invite Surbhi now to address the gathering.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Parth. Hi, Pranjal. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And
Hi,
I would
Surbhi.
like hello. So I'm Surbhi from the second batch of IIST. I graduated from aerospace engineering in 2012, and I would like to invite everyone at this point, because we are in the end of our registration drive, the official registrations to the IIST Alumni Association. And as you can see, like today's session, we can all see the achievements of people on LinkedIn and other places. But what honestly the people share are in these kind of sessions, and especially when you are connected in the same institute alumni association. So I would like to invite everyone to go for it, register, because we are going to end our drive tomorrow, the first drive. And when you register till tomorrow, you will also get decathlon goodies for free. So we have got about 247 registrations till now, and we have a lot of alumni who know about this thing. It is a lifetime membership, so please go ahead. Thank you so much. And now I would like to ask Ankita to deliver the vote of thanks.
Just a second, Survi, before Ankita comes up. So this is very important to understand. So I have put it on LinkedIn that I've got an admit from Cambridge. My inbox is full with people approaching me to have a conversation call. I got busy in my new job, but see, coming from IIST, and that's what I told Khagesh also, and I've like spoken to a couple of people from my batch, some seniors, juniors, one-on-one for hours. If I have to choose between a random person pinging me on LinkedIn and a person from IIST, even if I've not known him, if he just says that I'm from IIST this batch, I would always choose to talk to that person. And I'm pretty sure this happens with most of us, because that gives you, I'm like today connected with IIST in a lot of ways, apart from Alumni Association, talking to faculties, director and everything. So that will be my first preference. So definitely like, I would highly recommend and suggest all of you to get part of this. As you grow more in your career, you will understand the importance of a good network where you can just call people and ask for favors, ask for guidance, ask for mentorship. It will help you a lot. Maybe in IIST and ISRO, we don't realize it very quickly in our career because things are very much streamlined. But trust me on this, and I think Pranjal can attest to that fact. So please go ahead and go ahead for that.
Exactly. So the difference between IIM Bangalore and IIST is that the quality of people is same, but it's the network which IIM Bangalore provides. It's far superior than an IIST, and we have to build together to make IIST a known brand name.
Thank you. Thank you, Pranjal and Parth. So Amok, can we now invite Ankita for the vote of thanks?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. We had really not expected that a session on MBA would generate this much interest in the IIST community. We received over 130 registrations, and it was very heartening because it's one of the, I think, events with the highest engagement that we've had so far. So while a part of this interest may be attributed to the changes in the space sector, changes in the startup scenario in India, most of this interest within our community is thanks to seniors like Parth Bhaiya and Pranjal Bhaiya. Because seeing these seniors venture into diverse fields, it instills a sense of confidence in us, and it also instills a sense of confidence in the competency that is imparted by IIST. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules to address our queries, to share your experience. And seniors like you and alumni like you are truly an inspiration to all of us who are joining in, who have joined in the years after you, and to the students who are still joining now. So I'd like to thank you for being a part of this event. Thanks a lot. Further, I'd also like to thank Shajuman sir for all the support he has provided in organizing this event. Also to the IIST computer section. Thank you to IIST for lending us the Teams platform to conduct this event. Special shout out to IISTAA outreach team for publicizing this event and for making the posters. Especially, most of all, we'd like to thank Khagesh and Lakshmi of Bengaluru chapter of IISTAA for taking up this initiative and executing it wonderfully. So congratulations on that. Thank you all for attending this event and hope you were benefited. As Surbhi has already mentioned, to all alumni, do register if you haven't already and help us organize more such events in the future. Thank you. It was nice seeing you all.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.